Scotland Yard says the world's top whistleblower is liable to arrest for breaching bail conditions. The warning comes after Julian Assange took refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy in London, seeking political asylum in the Latin American state to avoid extradition to Sweden. Shortly here on RT, we'll be crossing live to our correspondent Sarah Furr. She's standing by in London. But for now, let's get some more now on Assange's last-ditch attempt to avoid extradition to Sweden. Let's cross live to Australian-born political campaigner Peter Tatchell, joining us live from London. Thank you for coming on RT today. As you've just heard, Assange now facing arrest, this after he breached his bail conditions. But is he still safe for now while he's still behind the walls of the Ecuadorian embassy?
I think temporarily, but of course it will all fall down to what decision the Ecuadorian government and ambassador take. I think the bigger picture is that sadly his own government, the government of Australia, has failed to give him the support that it should have done. He is an Australian citizen. He is entitled to the protection and support of the Australian government. But throughout this whole episode, the Australian government has singularly failed to give him the support that a person in his position would expect. The other big issue, of course, is although he does face serious charges in Sweden, which of course must be investigated, the question is yet again, if the Swedish prosecutors are so concerned about this case, why haven't they come to London to interview him? Julian has made himself available for over a year. He said he's willing to meet with the prosecutors at any time. If they are really concerned about this case, they surely should have come to London. That would have cut out a lot of this red tape, a lot of this legal battle that's been going on. It may have, of course, avoided the decision that Julian's taken to seek refuge in the Ecuadorian embassy. The whole thing is a mess, and I think that the Swedish authorities have not behaved in a way that indicates that they are serious about this case. If they were serious, they would have come to London to interview him, and Julian was willing to be interviewed.
But as you say, the Swedish prosecutors have not really fulfilled perhaps their legal obligations by coming to speak to Assange. As you said, he's been on house arrest now for approximately 500 days or more. Australia not giving its support to him either. And here we are, possibly poised to flee to Ecuador. Do you think Ecuador is the only chance for Assange to avoid extradition to Sweden at this point?
Probably, yes. I mean, if Ecuador refused him refuge, then he'd be back in the hands of Scotland Yard, and they've indicated that they would arrest him. I think also the other issue that is really important to bear in mind is that the Swedish legal system has a number of flaws that do not sit well with the British legal system. If he is extradited to Sweden, Julian Assange will face a secret trial. It will be held in private. There'll be no reporting allowed. And this goes against the principles of open justice, which are accepted by most countries around the world. The other big problem is that it's been indicated that if he is extradited to Sweden, he will not be given bail. He'll be held on remand in one of Sweden's, in fact, one of Europe's most notorious prisons. The prison he's likely to be held in Stockholm, the remand prison, has been condemned by the prison chaplains. It's been condemned by many other human rights and legal representatives as being a very bad prison. He won't have easy access to his legal team. He'll have very restricted access, in fact, only one phone call a day. I think there's only only a handful of phones in the whole prison for all the prisoners to use.
So as you say, I do apologise for interrupting you here, but as you say, if indeed he is extradited to Sweden, he could ultimately be holed up in, as you say, a notorious prison there. He's been on house arrest now for approximately 500 days in the UK. Here he is, Julian Assange, now holed up in the Ecuadorian embassy in London. If he's able to leave the embassy and get out, how does he get out? Is it a case of Ecuador dispatching some blacked-out windows of a diplomatic car to shuttle him to a chartered jet on a private runway at Heathrow? How does he get out?
You'd have to ask other legal experts about that. I'm not sure, to be honest, but I think it would be very, very difficult. I think when he's inside the embassy, which is, of course, Ecuadorian territory, he is safe. But once he leaves the embassy, by whatever means, he would be liable, my understanding is, he'd be liable to arrest.
All right, now finally, just got time for one more question here. I do ask for your forgiveness. We are running low on time here on RT. I think at the end of the day, though, he's been on house arrest for ages now. He's been facing extradition. As you said, the Swedish prosecutors have not fulfilled their legal obligations of going to question him. Why is it that the world's #1 whistleblower has not been charged yet?
Well, this is the extraordinary thing. You would think that if there is substantive evidence in Sweden, the prosecutors would have by now laid charges. And I think it does call into question the openness, transparency and indeed integrity of the Swedish legal system, that the prosecutors have not come to London to interview him, which they could have done, and they've not proceeded with actual charges. This does make the whole case, it looks like a vendetta. It looks like a deliberate attempt to get him. The other thing I'd finally say is that, of course, if he did go to Sweden, if he was extradited and did stand trial, certainly in the initial hearing would be before one professional judge and 2 lay judges who are usually political appointees, and almost certainly one of those judges would be from representing or would have been appointed by the ruling Conservative Party. We must not forget that the Conservative Prime Minister and Foreign Minister have indicated, or intimated rather, that Julian Assange is guilty. And this really does undermine the possibility of him getting a fair trial.
All right, Australian-born political campaigner Peter Tatchell joining us live for this breaking news here on RT. Many thanks indeed.